Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords, and today I'm doing a review of Swords and Six Ciders Expanded Edition. First, a couple of programming notes. A big welcome to all of you who have joined the channel just recently after Sargon gave me that shout out on his live stream. Big thanks to Sargon, and thanks to O-Dog from Twitter who had recommended me to him, and I hope. I hope Sargon's checking out the channel too. However, if what you came here was looking for biting, cutting commentary on the SJW takeover of D&D, this video in particular is not going to be what you're looking for. But you got a ton of backlog of a whole bunch of videos that you're going to find really interesting on this channel. But I also do reviews, and today I'm doing a review instead of, because it was what was scheduled. Now, if you want to see some of the latest commentary, it's Meatball. Hey, Meatball. If you want to see some of the latest commentary on what's going on in the OSR and D&D RPG fields and the SJWs and what have you, then what you're going to want... Oh, you're getting booped by Meatball. What you're going to want is to check out on Sunday our show Inappropriate Characters. That's where me and Benjer Satanis and Joe Bittman and sometimes special guest stars. We're going to have a guest star... Aaron the Pedantic is going to be there on Sunday. We end up talking about, well, controversies and news in the RPG field. So, yeah, you should totally go and check that out. Check out the channel. It's called Inappropriate Characters, and you're gonna like that quite a bit, because every episode, we only do an episode every 4 weeks, but every episode of Inappropriate Characters is very inappropriate, as you could imagine. Speaking of inappropriate, you're sitting on the book I'm reviewing. What am I going to do with you? So, anyway, another small programming note is that, here, I need this book. Come on, Meatball. What? Is that I should point out that Swords and Six Ciders, which I'm about to review, is published by Presses Intermedia. And Presses Intermedia are the publishers of a number of, or were the publishers of a number of my products. They still publish Lords of Olympus, and they created and published the Old School Companion, for example, and all of the RPG Pundit Presents stuff. That's now being published by Spectre Press, but in any case, I wanted to be transparent about the fact. However, I didn't have anything to do with the creation of this game, nor do I make any money from this game, nor do I think, as you guys would know if you've read or seen my other reviews. I've written thousands of reviews for the RPG site, and I've done a number of video reviews already. It's not likely to influence my opinion of the product. So, let's get right to it. Swords and Six Ciders, what is it? Well, there was a game that I did a text review back when I was reviewing on my blog and on the RPG site of this same game, I believe, Swords and Six Ciders, which is basically a super simplified version of D&D, which is meant to be played with just, D6 rolls, or sometimes more than one D6 roll. But that was like a little pamphlet book from what I remember. I might be remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is significantly expanded as a selection. As you can see, the product is quite large. It's got, what has it got? 212... character sheet here. So yeah, 214 pages, including the character sheet. So this is the character sheet, so you can see that it is fairly simple. What it is, though, it's also, I think, been somewhat revised in the rules. And having looked through it, I can tell you that what Swords and Six Ciders tries to do is not just make D&D simple enough to be played only with D6s. It also makes an ultra simple version of the game, right? Like a super concentrated version of the game. So you choose a race, you apply ability modifiers by race. That's not focusing, right? I don't know why. There we go. You choose a class and an alignment at hit points. All this is very easily recognizable to you if you've ever played D&D, right? But there are some important differences that come along. Elves, halflings, etc. your ability scores are made by rolling a d6 for the first. Roll a d6 3 times, and that gives you 3 numbers. And then you do the opposite of those 3 numbers, and now you have 6 numbers in a semi-balanced fashion. Uh-oh. Oh, Lord, she coming. It's Big Chungus. Big Chungus. I like that both my cats have come to be on the show tonight. This is not very usual for them. I don't know what's going on. Have I forgotten to feed them? I might have forgotten to feed them. Anyways, so the ability scores aren't going to be between 3 and 16. They're going to be between 1 and 6. There's going to be 6 numbers between 1 and 6. And you're going to see this same pattern happening throughout the product. Right? Characters range from level 1 to 6. And that's because by the time they're at that level, they're going to be really powerful in the context of the limited 1 to 6 range of the game. But as you can see, it's got all stuff that you can basically recognize, except that the system has all been kind of compacted, right? And there have been attempts at this before. This is a pretty ambitious one, I would say. They've tried very hard here. Armor class. It represents that. So, like, if you have a chainmail or a scale mail, then the armor class is 2. That means you have to get higher than 2 to hit someone. Characters also have damage reduction. So you level by collecting gold pieces. There was a bit of a printing error here. This isn't just blurry now because it's blurry. It's because there's a little bit of a print error. On the whole, though, the quality of the book is quite nice. It's got this nice kind of black exterior to the pages, which was what really impressed Bill the Elf when he saw this. I don't know why. He's like, "Ooh, it's black on the outside." All right, like his soul, I guess. But it's on the whole, it's fairly well produced. Nothing super spectacular with the art or anything, but nothing bad either, right? You get some basic spells because there's only so many you're going to need ultimately because the levels are restricted, right? Like there's the amount of leveling. It's like you've reduced this to I think in a way I don't know if they really were intending it to be like that, but in a way it's trying to reduce it to the quintessence of D&D play. There is just one kind of problem, which is that almost all of the rolls that you're doing in the game are being done on 1d6, and 1d6 is really dull. Like you're doing an attack roll on a d6. You roll 1d6, add any modifiers you have to get equal or greater than the target's AC. And besides that, the range just becomes wonky because now like a natural 6 always hits. You got like a 7 natural 20. Oh, it's a natural 6. Yeah, I don't know if I've told you this story, but I was a major playtester in the Doctor Who RPG for Cubicle 7. And the creator of that game originally planned for the Doctor Who RPG to be done rolling 1d6. And it was actually my effort that convinced them to switch it to rolling 2d6 because it's just something much more satisfying, much more essential about having 2 dice together and rolling them at once, right? To say nothing of a weird, if you're not going to have a weird dice, at least have that. I think there's one respect in which, even though in many ways this product is a bit superior, you could say, to a system like Fighting Fantasy, which is also an ultra basic, old school style game. So Swords and Six Ciders is more like D&D than Fighting Fantasy. It's more complete than Fighting Fantasy, and in some ways it's more functional than Fighting Fantasy. You can see there's a lot of details about all kinds of stuff for dungeoneering mostly, but there's even, you're going to see in the back, there's even some there's monsters, and there's even some outdoor stuff too, right? But Fighting Fantasy has the benefit that at least when you're fighting, you're rolling 2 dice instead of just 1, and that, believe it, I don't know why, but there's something visceral about 2d6. 2d6 is okay. 1d20 is okay. 1d6 as your central mechanic just doesn't feel okay, right? Monster section even has like random tables to develop special abilities for creatures. Like, it is super complete. I'll give it a lot of credit for that, right? There's some treasure tables. And so this is the sort of thing that can be really potentially fun if you're running a very basic, like, maybe a pickup dungeon crawling game with people who don't already play D&D and you really don't want to be asked to have to explain all the rules. This would be simpler, right? Like, I think that would be the ideal market for this game, would be so that you can, with your friends, or, if there's some kids or something, you don't want to have to make the character creation very complex. You don't want to spend a lot of time explaining it to them, but you want it to really look in many ways and feel in many ways like D&D, then this could be the way to do it, right? Like, it would be a potential way to do that, and to have fun playing, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sessions of it, right? I think beyond that, it doesn't have a lot of further advancement, right? There's not much more you can do with that. It even comes with adventures, right? Castle that fell from the sky, there you go. Nice dungeon maps, right? Like, really cool stuff, actually. Like, there's a tremendously nice old school flavor to this product. So it's something that's got an appeal for that, Of course, if you're looking for a party game, they also published No Murdered, which is something I wrote, but that's meant to be a joke of these pretentious story games that story gamers like to make. So if you're looking for a parody game of that sort of thing, you could look into No Murdered. Saber of Lightning. Yeah, that's good stuff. Anyway, getting to the hard part here of doing this with just one hand. I just wanted to show you guys that in the back, see, here's a whole hex crawling section of like overland travel, and there's even, where was that? Yeah, even some hex maps, right? Like, this is good old school stuff of the Black Marsh, East Black Marsh and West Black Marsh. Awesome, right? So, like, it's great. I mean, this could make a good introductory game for someone very young, maybe. It could make, like I said, a good party game for you to, to enjoy with some friends, some of whom are already gamers and some of whom aren't, for example. And the ones that aren't are you get the feeling that, it's big Chungus. Where are you going, Chungus? Where are you going? Oh, you're just going off to the side. Okay. For a second there, I thought I was going to have Chungus climbing on top of me there. It could be the sort of thing, like, you got a group of friends, and some of them aren't really inclined to gaming, but they're willing to give it a shot, and you get the feeling that they probably don't want to learn all about, I don't know, I was going to say like attacks of opportunity or something like that, but even like where basic D&D, like Swords and Wizardry or Labyrinth Lord or, or Lion and Dragon would be too complex for them, so then this might be the way. That could work. Anyway, so that's the product. On the whole, I'd say I'd give it a fairly positive review. The worst thing about it is that it only uses a single D6 as the basic mechanic. And of course, it's not something that I think is meant. It's going to be really, I mean, in theory, you could try it for longer than sort of one-shot sort of deals. But in my perspective on it is that it's probably limited to something that you're going to be taking very lightly, right? But if that's the sort of thing you're looking for, there you go. Swords and Six Ciders, expanded edition, available from Presses Intermedia. And while you're checking out Presses Intermedia, be sure to check out Spectre Press. And I think Presses even still has the link. I think that part of the deal was that they still have the link to my stuff there via Spectre Press. And check out like the Old School Companion and the RPGPundit series. And also my other books, right? Like if you've just come on here, you'll know that I'm doing crusading against certain sort of influences in this hobby that would really want to destroy me. And luckily I'm doing very well. But if you want to support me on this, you want me to encourage me to get to do more work, to post more videos, to do more rants, to generally piss off the SJWs even more, then you could always, I mean, I've got a Patreon, but I've got hardly anyone on my Patreon because I tell people, buy my stuff instead. If you want to just throw money at me, I've got a Patreon, I've got a PayPal. But if you would like to support me with products, check out my games, right? If you're a gamer, you've come to this channel because Sargon found out about it, he thought I was cool, he told people to check me out. Now you're here, and you are also a gamer. Maybe you're a gamer that's really disillusioned with the stuff that's going on in tabletop gaming, just like it's happening in everything else in comics and video gaming and science fiction, TV, and everything else. Well, don't buy products from people who hate you, right? Don't buy products from people who want to ruin everything that you find fun, right? Buy products from people who don't. Buy products from people who want the game to be the game. So check out, instead of buying the 5th edition PHB, buy Lion and Dragon, an OSR RPG. If you don't know what the OSR is, the very first thing you need to do is check out one of the videos on my channel. Quite early on, I think it's relatively early video, which is called the OSR is how is it? The OSR is cutting edge and will change how you understand D&D. Right? The OSR is the old school Renaissance. Technically, both Swords and Six Ciders, the Old School Companion, Lion and Dragon, all those are OSR games. They're indie publishers who are focused on old school play. And Lion and Dragon is like if you want to get really medieval, right? Like Kingdom Come Deliverance type medieval on D&D, authentic medieval, right? Like you're not worshiping Pelor or stuff like that. You worship God, right? There's the church, and you can be a cleric of the church if you like. And there's and the magic system's based on authentic medieval ideas about how magic worked. The monsters are all based on authentic medieval folklore, legends, and local tales. Everything is traditionalist, right? And these days, somebody was complaining recently about how what's the most transgressive thing you can do, because some guy was like this transgressive sort of guy, and that he was like I don't know, a punk rock guy or something like that, and he's like I can't make a transgressive game anymore because half of the stuff they're not going to allow me to do, and then the other half of the stuff just seems like nobody's going to care, nobody's going to be shocked by it, right? And I'm like, well, if you want to be this is transgressive, the Old School Companion, right? The most transgressive act you can do in game design today is to make a game that is unrepentantly traditionalist and that even has a positive spin on, traditional fantasy, folklore, myth, etc. And that's stuff that I like to do. So check out my products. You can pick up my books, but if you're already enjoying some other game that you're running, maybe you can pick up my supplements. The RPG Pundit Presents PDF series is full of short products that cost between 99 cents and $4.99. They're all in PDF. You download them through drive-thru, and you'll be giving me a tip, but you'll also be getting for yourself something that you will find useful for your game. There's 102 issues out so far. 103 is coming up soon. You're bound to find something in all of those that you'll find cool as something to add to your gaming experience. And most of all, please keep subscribing to the channel. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, hit the like button, the notification button so you don't miss anything, and share this video and my other videos, any of the videos you like, anywhere you want, anywhere you think it'll be appreciated or anywhere you think it'll piss people off. And that's a big way to help too. So that's everything for today. Currently smoking Stanwell Deluxe plus Argento Natural.